Good morning, mushrooms, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers, sisters, mothers, misters, and to all my cousins out there around the world. It's time to plug in and get the train a chug. Here in Breaking Down the News, we break it down. If you break something down, it's to disassemble it into its constituent pieces so that it could be better understood, analyzed, etc. However, this is a breakdown much like a mechanical breakdown in which a system, one of the pieces, fails and things stop working. And stunning, as you know, shocked and awed and surprised. And so it is a stunning breakdown of the government's duty to keep Americans safe. And let's jump into the caption here. Trump's own medical advisors refuse to correct his misleading claim. To refuse, now here we're just looking at the complementation of the verb here. To refuse to do something. To refuse to do something is saying, no way, not gonna do that. Often when we use the infinitive after another verb in a two-verb construction, it has some sort of future implication. So agree to do something, want to do something, plan to do something, promise to do something. Those are all about the future. And so yes, to refuse to correct his misleading claim. Now we got the prefix here, mis, means incorrectly or badly or poorly. And so he's leading you along, but is misleading. It's leading you in the wrong direction, basically. And so, yeah, we're going to see a little bit more on that right here. However, the coronavirus trust gap. There is a gap between what science says and what they say, and so this gap in between is where trust is missing. Unfounded. Yes, the FDA chief won't back Trump's unfounded COVID-19 claim. It's a misleading claim, and it's unfounded. It is, as we've had before on the show, baseless. It is without a base, without foundation. There are no facts upon which to build. And so it has no base and it has no foundation. Solid, stable ground, a foundation, and a base upon which to then build up what you want to say or do or anything. And yes, his claims are unfounded, they are baseless, they are without any proof or evidence. Well, it has topped that. It has gone above it. Even states which are producing more and more cases than entire countries. Things, as we know from the headlines last week, things have spiraled out of control as Trump gaslights Americans about coronavirus. To gaslight, basically, just to say things that are completely untrue so that people question their own sanity. I don't actually, and I need to check it out, I don't know the etymology of gaslighting. It has made the news and has been in the news a lot recently, and just saying things to get people to question their own sanity, to question knowledge and question facts, because everything that you don't agree with is a hoax, it's fake news. And thinking about craziness, here we have madness. London pubs have reopened, and I saw pictures, and there are crazy pictures of places almost no social distancing, no masks, or anything else like that. And madness has nothing to do with being angry. We use it in American English as well, but in British English especially, mad means crazy, and that was craziness. And I assume as England continues to reopen, we're going to see a spike, a surge in more cases, and bringing in the second wave that has been so feared by so many epidemiologists. 2 Americans have been fined, nice reduced passive there, have been fined for breaking Canada's quarantine rules. And as well, of course, to make rules, to break rules. They're probably claiming constitutional freedoms, even though they were in a different country, and so therefore ridiculous. But have been fined, reduced passive, because they still have to pay, and so present perfect passive makes a lot of sense there. Strongmen, not people like me and not people with big guns. Oh, actually, strongmen often have big guns. People like Putin, Kim Jong-un, Orban, Bolsonaro. They're not technically dictators. Often they've been democratically elected. However, they function more or less like dictators. And so we refer to them as strongmen because they pressure people and all of society into doing exactly what they want to do. Dictator-ish, like-esque, to tack on a couple different suffixes, are in a rush. They are in a hurry. Can be used as a verb. However, often you'll bump into somebody on the street, hopefully maintaining social distancing, but you are doing many different things or you're on a tight schedule and you can't say I am rushing. In English, we typically say, sorry, I don't have time to chat right now. I am in a rush. In that case, we use it as now. You can be in a rush to do something. Faces a now historical disadvantage. I had a quick chance to skim through this article just because I wanted to make sure it was historical and not just historic. Remember, the adjective historic means make history, whereas historical means about or related to history. Okay, moving on to technology and politics as well. China, the Chinese telecom Huawei, is finally feeling the heat. There has been a lot of pressure on them. They are one of the largest providers of 5G technology and other networking tools and technologies, hardware, software, etc. I don't know the full details, to be honest. They have been pushing back against Huawei, thinking that it is an agent of the Chinese state. Basically, there's been a lot of pressure on them, however, to little or no effect. However, now they are feeling the heat because, well, with pressure also comes heat. As we know, that's why the center of the earth is so hot. They are finally feeling it. It is having some effect on them. Human remains identified, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry to get so excited about this tragic story, but remains, just like when we have food after a meal, we put it into little plastic boxes and put it in the fridge to save it for later. Those are our leftovers, and they are what remains, because as usual with the phrasal verb, we often have usually have a one-word verb which is a little bit more formal to explain what we mean and what is left or left over after some sort of situation. So that's probably bones or teeth or yeah. So actually it's a sad story. I shouldn't be so excited about it, but it's the language, not the content. Okie dokie. Moving on to some other bizarre news. Kanye West, because the world wants another psychopathic, narcissistic. Kanye West says he's running for president now, without commenting anymore on the story itself. To run for a public office, it means that you have put yourself forward or have been chosen as a candidate to be elected by the population for a public office. We say that is running, and that's why we often refer to it as the presidential race or a race for whatever office. Even though he's running for president, he hasn't taken any steps yet. Probably just a huge publicity stunt to sell more sneakers, ugly shoes, and or questionable clothing items. Moving on. Crowds packed U.S. beaches on Independence Day, as always, and as I started to explain last week and had neglected in weeks prior, though we often use the present simple in the headlines because it is the shortest construction in the English language. People were flocking to the beaches, and they packed them just like when you pack a suitcase, it is then full, and the beaches were full, and that is not good, especially in a place where the pandemic is raging out of control. Yeah. More scary news. A woman dies after falling from a roller coaster. Now, most people know what roller coasters are. They go up, and then you go down and up and down and around and around. In some countries, they call it a Russian mountain. I don't know why exactly that is. But I like, actually, the English word roller coaster because it's wheels, basically. And so it rolls and coasts using gravity and then gains momentum to continue its journey. I think it's a pretty straightforward explanation of what that thing is. All right. Here we've got a split up little headline, and it's dragged somebody into, and this is usually used with a negative situation or some sort of scandal or crisis, or any sort of thing that person doesn't want to do. Because to drag means to pull, and if it's a person, normally you just walk together hand in hand, tra la la, but that person does not want to go, and you have to pull them. But not even just pull them, it's like they are a dead body, or they have their heels dug in, and you really, really have to pull them and drag them into, well, in this case, the scandal. And they were sitting actually on the royal thrones in Buckingham Palace because, you know, they let ordinary people and sexual abusers do that, apparently. We've got soldiers and or police, and then civilians coming from just the normal ordinary citizens of a society. They are the civilians. Enough is enough. It's time to do something else, move on, change the system, and or I don't know. And Atlanta says enough is enough violence, enough protesting, enough racism, enough, I don't know what the enough is enough, but he or she and all of society are sick and tired and fed up with the current situation. That's why people are protesting. Next up, economic progress has stalled. To stall, it's interesting. You might know stall in different terms, but we're just going to focus on it here. To stall is when an engine stops working due to a lack of combustion. If an engine stalls, it can be for various reasons. It could be lack of oxygen, lack of fuel, blah, blah, blah. In this case, hopefully economic progress will reignite and we're able to regain any losses that have been made. All right, U.S. protesters have toppled a statue and threw it in the harbor. To topple something basically just means to pull it down. We use it with statues, and we use it with dictators and or governments, where it is pulled down by the people. However, then they threw it in a harbor. A harbor is a port. It's a usually protected area of water in which people park boats, because then there's no waves and the boats are safe. And as a result, then we use that, we've extended it figuratively, meaning to shelter or to protect something. And so you can harbor criminals, you can harbor, well, yes, your ships, and we're going to see another word related to that just down below. We have the Looney Tunes character Marvin the Martian. He comes from Mars. Often people have used this term for any sort of extraterrestrial being, the creatures who come off of UFOs, which are unidentified flying objects. However, technically, the word Martian is meaning Mars. Testing systems so that way then they can colonize Mars. Best of luck to them, because we're running out of everything here and we are wearing out this planet. Eventually it will be worn out, things will be used up, we will have run out of everything, and the Earth will have run out of patience for us humans. So we're gonna need to live somewhere, but I don't want to live on Mars. Look at that, it looks terrible. I don't want to live in a bubble. Stature literally means how tall somebody is, much like a statue, how you stand. Yes, I am of a fairly tall stature. We wouldn't use it that way much of the time. When we use it, though, we're talking about the respect and or prestige of an individual within society. And so, yes, Lewis Hamilton is using his stature. He's using his position of respect and authority within that circle and trying to change things within his orbit, to use more recycled vocabulary. We had the headline quite some time ago. Some collector, some photo enthusiast found 850,000 photo negatives back from when people had actual film cameras. You had the negative, which were then developed into the normal pictures. This person salvaged them or saved them because they had been discarded. They had been thrown away. But it turned up again today, and it looks like some of the photos were pretty funny. And so probably going to click this link and see what other sort of amazing things this person discovered with other people's discarded negatives. Just through various headlines, I've cobbled together a little bit of understanding of the story, and they are talking about Taiwan. LGBTQ art is thriving in Taiwan. It's flourishing. It's growing. It is robust. It is healthy and doing well. However, it is a haven for it. And actually, we had it up above. Haven comes from, well, it comes from German. German, it is the word for harbor, which we actually had up above. And it means a place of shelter or refuge, therefore safety. And in terms of direction, we have forward and backward and sideways, from side to side, yeah? And yes, to drag America backward, well, the world and America and people in general like to move forward because that implies progress. Actually, technically, pull us backward to a state that existed in the past. I'm not saying slavery, but probably segregation and or just overt racism. But yes, America doesn't want to go backwards, and so he's just pulling it much like a dead body. Same headline, different words that we had up above. Strongmen, dictators, or, well, dictator-ish-esque like individuals who may or may not have been democratically elected are in a rush to remake, meaning again, to remake, to reform the world order. We have different types of order. We have numerical order, we have alphabetical order, and it's just the system of organization that exists. Yeah, that's about it. Those were the headlines for today. Thanks to everybody out there for tuning in. That was breaking down the news for English Otherwise. If you made it this far, most people know me as Mr. James, but you can call me Cameron. Thanks for all the likes, subscribes, and shares. Please do click the thumbs up, the bell notification icon, add some comments, and tell a friend. In short, if I don't see you sooner, I'll see you tomorrow at 8 a.m. Have a beautiful day. Bye-bye. Yes, stop the stream.